Ladies and gentlemen, dear community, welcome to our first FinTech webcast of MME. My name is Thomas Linder, and I'm joined today by my colleagues Luka Müller and Andreas Glarner. As with our monthly FinTech newsletter, we aim to provide you today some current insights, news, and maybe gossip live from Crypto Valley in Switzerland. However, as you can see, we have decentralized ourselves, also due to COVID, and therefore we're doing this call from different locations. So Luka, where are you actually based? It looks like you're sitting somewhere in a mountain hut.
Absolutely, Thomas. Welcome to everybody. I'm sitting here in the Val Mustair, which is the most eastern point in Switzerland, a beautiful little valley. And here is my my thinking retreat. So actually, if I'm getting really fed up of all these corona restrictions, I go up into this hut, work, think, and do some occasional biking.
What are the challenges of remote working from the mountains?
The challenges, though, there are actually no challenges at all. I mean, sometimes you have a bit difficult with the connections because, if the whole valley is actually accessing the internet at the same time, you're thrown out. That's actually the main challenge. And sometimes, also to get something to eat here, all the restaurants are closed because it's off season. So you have to do a bit of negotiating with the local farmers. But actually, apart from that, it's a really, really nice life up here. No fog, actually, as you have probably down in Zurich and in Zug. Here it's really sun from the early morning to the late evening.
And snow, already snow, but no
looking outside, I see the peaks are already white. I wouldn't say it's ready for skiing, but give them another 3 weeks and we're ready up here.
Excellent. And Andreas, where are you based?
Unfortunately, not in the sunny mountains as Luka. I'm sitting here at just next to Zurich main station. I look out of the window, as you can see, railroad tracks here, fog on top. So can only focus on work. I can't.
Very good. So speaking about work, so what's the situation at the moment? How do you see the client and service situation at the moment? In my feeling, it's kind of that there is more projects and work around at the moment in blockchain.
Absolutely, I do believe. I think COVID crisis, it's a boost for digitalization. We're working in the finance digitalization industry, FinTech industry. So I think we don't see any decline in workload. We don't see any decline in projects. Of course, we had seen some projects which suffered a bit from getting the financing they needed, but overall, I see a good momentum in the industry. I see a lot of new projects, new protocols, new applications, new financial market players who want to move on in digital assets. So I think it's a very interesting period.
Mm.
Yeah, I can second that. It's all these physical restrictions. They definitely boosted the digital development. And what we see is at the moment that a lot of financial intermediaries starting to think to implement DLT technology for their security offering, for example. And for us, it's interesting because it's one thing is to have a project and an idea, and then actually you start to have all these let's say thinking sessions to really in detail implement it. And here it kicks in. Here we are. This is our specialization, and that's why actually we get more and more work. Because people realize that one thing is the technology and the other thing is to implement this technology in a fully regulated environment, and this is actually work we have now on our desks.
Cool. So let's jump into some of the news of the last month. We have read online that sleepy Swiss town WetziKoin launched some Tezos-backed coronavirus aid program. So what they've done is kind of distributing some vouchers or local currency to the inhabitants. And I must say, WetziKoin is not that sleepy, even for Swiss standards. But from an international point of view, everything is sleepy here. But they provide inhabitants with, I think, like $10 of vouchers, and then can use it in the local grocery stores, etc., in order to a little bit improve the business relations locally. So what do you think about such programs or projects? I mean, from my point of view, it's great that you use blockchain, but actually the people using it don't really know what they're using, but it works, and they will get some experience, online experience, etc. And I think that's the next step that needs to be taken in blockchain industry, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree. The point is adoption of the technology, adoption on a wider level beyond the community of techies and experts and people who have been in the blockchain space for the last couple of years. So adoption in a much wider community, and that requires good interfaces, and in order to get there you need to try things out. So it's a great initiative by the sleepy little town of WetziKoin. But I think it helps a lot to get the experience to make blockchain technology in the background acceptable for many more business cases in the future.
I particularly like that, that we have an application running on Tezos. So it's not only all the time Ethereum. That's what I like. We have a Tezos. It's another protocol which works and has now a use case. That's exactly particularly what I like in this project. And secondly, this is the people, the population of WetziKoin, they have now a wallet, they have an address, they have an interface to which they can use to actually interact with the local merchant. And I think this is really revolutionary, that they hold something in an address, on an address, in a wallet. Probably I have not seen the application actually, but probably they have some kind of WetziKoin Tezos wallet, which they have on their mobile or their web interface. And this is the first start, this makes technology visible. Good case. Hope that we have such actually, by the way, I tried to implement such a system up in the valley of the Val Mustair to connect, let's say, the ski resort with the restaurants and the bars. It was probably a bit too early. It was 2 years ago, but these are use cases, connecting the local community, connecting the local merchants, using your own, let's say, your own tourist or local currency. Nice use cases.
There was the funny discussion from a tax point of view, because I think the city of Weinfelden did something similar, not on a digital base, but kind of handing out vouchers. And then there was a big discussion whether this is taxable income if you receive something from the state or from the government. And the kind of the head of tax then publicly stated, yes, this is income, even it's just a voucher and actually not real money. And that was then a big discussion. My suggestion was actually, as long as you don't use it and you didn't ask for it, it actually should also not be income. And maybe if you use it and you really convert it, but it's a similar discussion with any cryptocurrency that you get from an airdrop or from any other transaction. What is it actually? You have it, but you don't want it, or maybe you use it, maybe not. And does it really have a value as long as it's just there and not used, right? Yeah. Good. So let's jump to the next topic. So we had two institutions. One is PayPal, one is Gazprom Bank Switzerland, publicly announcing that they will include crypto in their business model. So PayPal will introduce kind of a wallet where you can hold and buy and sell cryptocurrencies. I understand that Gazprom Bank offers accounts that in Bitcoin and in other cryptocurrencies to their customers. What do you think about such kind of news? Are these really news, or is it just, do you see PayPal will be 2021, maybe later? We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, every for us, every, let's say, regulated institution which is entering into the space, offering, let's say, offering a possibility for the clients to hold, buy and sell cryptos is increasing the ecosystem and is therefore should be supported. When I see the offering, I mean, I don't know in detail the offering, but it's actually what we call is the version 1 of offering. I mean, it's just hold and buy and sell against the bank. And I think these are, and it's not a difficult offering. It's not really difficult here. It's also from the AML side, it's not particularly challenging, but it's already a good start. The version 2, let's say version 2, the extension of this offering would be then delivery of crypto in and delivery of crypto out, which is much more difficult. Here, this is let's say an offering of Signum and Seba, you know, the other crypto banks. And that's far more challenging in a banking environment. Not let's say on the crypto exchanges, which run only under an AML license. It's a little bit more easy for them. But if you hold a banking license, then it's quite, let's say, challenging.
I mean, it's more like 2017, 18 with Falcon and others starting.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we did that.
Different, right?
Absolutely. That's actually what we did with Falcon, I think in 2017. When we actually implemented the whole system and also negotiated with FINMA how actually we can do that to hold crypto for clients and to buy and sell and connecting, for example, some of the unregulated OTC crypto providers to a bank. That was actually the more challenging thing here in such a setup. You know, how do you connect to the brokers, to the crypto brokers?
Yeah,
but
good. I think what's a bit different to 2017, 18 to the early movers in the space, like the first bank like Falcon accepting to kind of custody and certain trade activities on Bitcoin and E3 was mainly back at the time. That nowadays those banks and Gazprom, I assume as well, they're really setting up their own kind of tech layer in the back. So they have the implementation of these new digital asset types into their core banking system. So it's not just a little tool or a side wagon, it's really kind of implementing and embracing the technology and allowing it to correspond to the core banking system, which is from a kind of an IT perspective, quite a big step. And it also requires that they have safe wallet solutions within their banking system. So it is an effort to get there, not only from an AML and regulatory perspective, but also from a technology perspective. And I do believe the more banks we have who have made that step to have been able to, from a kind of an infrastructure view, operate with digital assets, maybe first with Bitcoin and Ethereum, other crypto asset, but in a second step then with digital securities. The more banks we have, the further we get in having an ecosystem in Switzerland, which is really embracing digital asset technology and moving on to the future.
Actually, you pointed out the right thing. You know, when we see the integration of, let's say, a crypto wallet system into an existing banking system, what we see is something which is, let's say, a certain part of the banking IT infrastructure is untouchable. Normally, the core banking system. I mean, you can't touch a core banking system. So what you need is to have a system or a platform running underneath the core banking system, which can be interconnected. There are different kinds of connection. You know, do you actually have a handish process between execution, or is it fully seamless executed? Here you see a variety of offerings, you know. And I agree with you, you know, in 2017, you know, several, let's say, several developments and also which were not there are here now, you know, especially also regarding AML standards, regarding equity balance sheet requirements, you know, and also how to set up such a wallet system in order to be able to execute your AML duties. All these elements, functionalities, they were not there in 2017, and they are here now, and that's why it's actually we will see probably much more banks using already developed and existing platforms, and they will connect with their core banking system. I think this is just the start of the development.
Yeah, and most probably also on the customer side, there are more customers requesting such services from their bank, and
yes, I mean, this is actually something which we should discuss also among us. You know, the development of the Bitcoin price, for example, the Ethereum price. You know, is it really an interesting? Is it a really interesting asset to invest? Is it a mainstream asset, or can a bank just offer such a still very volatile and risky asset class only to the institutional client base? Interesting questions, you know. And what we see is, particularly now of the Bitcoin increasing, we have not seen so far a clear correlation between, let's say, these huge production of fiat money from all the national banks, which could have a direct link and connection to, let's say, an increase of the price of Bitcoin. It's not so that I can't see a direct relation to that. But what I see is, you know, and asking myself, you know, why is the Bitcoin price like step by step increasing again, you know? And Ethereum has another story, you know. It's everybody's waiting for 2.0 staking, you know, and I thought actually it would actually have a higher impact on the price. On the other hand, you know, if you have a DeFi application and you have to feed such an application and the price is actually climbing of Ethereum, you won't use it. So it's difficult, but I see, you know, more and more people are interested to at least start to have at least a certain amount of money invested in cryptos.
Just remembers me about my my quote of last 2 years ago, that there is no volatility in Bitcoin. So one Bitcoin is always one Bitcoin in the system. So
yeah, I remember that very well. You sitting on the panel on Crypto Valley on the right side, you know, always bringing in some very highly intellectual standpoints.
Let's jump into our kind of last topic of today. I think the most important one is the new so-called DLT law in Switzerland. So we will have a federal law about developments in distributed ledger technology, introducing a so-called DLT-based security, and certain other kind of gimmicks that give much more legal certainty for transactions with such assets here in Switzerland. So what are the kind of your main, let's say, the benefits and the main topics that you like about this law?
Well, I'll give it a quick start maybe, and for that, look back a bit how this DLT framework came into place. I think back in 2019, that was even, the Federal Council conducted kind of a delta gap analysis to see which laws need amendment in order to be fit and proper for digital assets. Very much in general, not focusing necessarily only on blockchain and DLT technology, with a broader view, and it defined a whole set, around 20 different pieces of legislation in civil law, in contract law, in bankruptcy law, banking laws, and a lot of whole AML regulations, etc., where there need to be amendment, and made proposals for amendments, which then resulted in this new DLT framework regulation. So it's not a regulation for DLT as such. It's a combined approach to change and amend existing laws and regulations in very particular fields to have a complete digital asset framework applicable for Switzerland. I think that's very important to understand. So it's not a new law addressing blockchain or Bitcoin or anything like that. It's really making small amendments in different pieces of law to be fit and proper for digital assets as a whole. And now, what are the key pieces? I think certainly this new DLT security, which you have mentioned, which we're going to be talking about certainly a bit later. Then another key element is enhanced legal certainty around custody of digital assets, in particular when you start needing a banking license, when you provide custody services, and basically reduce that threshold. The third element, which is important, is a new form of a trading venue license for DLT security. So a security token exchange, you can call it that way, which is also allowed to have retail investors onboarded. I think those are the three main key issues. Obviously, there are a lot of other issues which are being addressed, but I think in a nutshell, if you agree, look, those are the key issues.
And well, when will it be introduced?
Too late.
Oh yes, too late.
Too late. I mean, too late. This is really, I mean, it makes me nervous if I see that we have now a fully fledged, I mean, we can say Swiss government has really done a very nice work, really. I mean, with all the reports they have written, the gap analysis, which you mentioned, Andreas, and what they did already in 2014 with their federal report on Bitcoin, great work, helped to actually manage the stakeholders, to inform objectively the stakeholders, one of which is the parliament, and they passed this law very efficiently. And the government also wrote a very nice text to the law, you know, explaining the law, and all the work done. Now it passed through the parliament and it could be enforced at the 14th of January. And now I don't know who actually is thinking that we can delay such a very important piece of legislation until August 2021. I'm talking from the industry perspective. You know, we need to start to work on these issues, to make pilot projects, to experiment, and the law is ready, especially 973D of the civil law part of the new law, which is the radical thing, which is this new kind of digital DLT security. I don't see why we should wait another year. It should be as fast as possible implemented. We should have the first use cases using it and make pilots and make experiments and get it as fast as possible out of the market. Once now we have all done all the work, all the parliament work, all the enforcement work.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Luka. I couldn't agree more. I think obviously the background is that the ordinance to the framework is now being in consultation. It takes some time. However, I think there's probably no reason to not split the law, this kind of law, in different sections, and only have the kind of delay the activation of the part which is dependent upon the ordinance.
Absolutely.
And certainly not the DLT security right. I think that could be the case for the DLT exchange. There it wouldn't even matter that much. It takes, you know, roughly 9 to 12 months anyway to get the license, so we could start in the license process and in an early stage and it where needed. So there wouldn't matter at all. But here with the DLT security, yeah, it's a pity. It may change, hopefully it may change, but we don't know.
Yeah, it should be, absolutely. Because, you know, for Switzerland, it is the approach which you mentioned, you know, the approach Switzerland has taken to deal with this impact of this new technology is really great. And also what they did, you know, how they used the civil law path rather than the financial market infrastructure path. It's really radical. It's also it shows also our democratic view, our civil law view, that we have something new now, like a DLT security. It's an incredible work, and I'm really looking forward to actually have the first transaction done.
Where I'm not happy that they didn't go all the way, you know. So we have now in civil law a DLT-based security, but we still don't have a qualification for Bitcoin as kind of a tradable asset in civil law.
Absolutely, but I tell you, I'm actually not unhappy that they didn't do it, because let's say the potential to do something wrong is very high.
That's right. But on the other hand, just saying that digital assets are qualified similarly to physical assets when in trades and contractual law would already have been quite
it was.
I mean,
of course, the approach taken was one, and they're a big compliment to the government who drafted that. They chose a path which they believed could be put on the table on a fast track. So they kind of avoided
absolutely
main concerns which could involve lengthy parliamentary debates, and that worked out fine. They resulted in drafting. It's probably one of the fastest laws that ever has been drafted.
Right.
Yeah.
And now, unfortunately, the enforcement is being delayed, but it went through Parliament in a fast track because they probably avoided to address some of the more critical matters.
And they had very good experts, that support.
Yeah, I heard of especially a couple of very well-known people.
Yeah, but I mean, they avoided some of the dogmatic questions. I agree, and that was probably a wise decision because it's very difficult to lead such a dogmatic decision in a parliament, So, and even at the moment, it's not the question has not been resolved yet by the learned professors we have here in Switzerland. So it's also on us from the industry to support such the discussion and to write about these issues and elements, and I think, give us more time to do that, and we will probably have in the next 5-10 years something like a concept of a digital property dogmatically, and here Bitcoin would fit in as a concept.
Yeah, right. Maybe we use the last 5 minutes for the DLT exchange license that is part of the whole law. So it's kind of another amendment outside of civil law that introduces a new license type. What are the specifics about that, and how do you see the potential, kind of the market potential for Switzerland in this regard?
There are many technical issues about this license, and the license type is also, I think, that Andreas can kick in because he's more close to the development, has to be also a bit redefined by the ordinance. But what the radical thing is that you have a trading venue which allows direct access of clients, and not qualified participants. I think this is one of the most radical things.
Yeah, maybe for the knowledge of the kind of audience, so far exchanges are kind of closed systems where only banks, very
regulated exchanges, yes,
can be part of it, and not me as a normal retail client. And these venues would probably also be open for retail investors.
Absolutely.
And that's basically the goal. Probably, I think we can leave aside. This is clear. It will be open unless they decide not to do so as a trading venue. But principally, you can set up a trading venue for retail clients. As of today, the situation was as such in Switzerland. If you wanted to trade securities, you needed a full-fledged security trading license, a tough license to get, but which would not allow you to have retail customers as participants. And on the other hand, for the classical token, like mainly Bitcoin and utility payment token type, you would need an AML setup, a very light setup, but it would not be possible to trade any security token. And now we have a new system which allows retail customers to participate. We allow multilateral trading, which allows security trading, and also which allows custody and custody service provision. So you have an all-in-one solution for DLT securities. That's a new thing, a new animal in the regulatory field, and I think Switzerland went a big step ahead there compared to other jurisdictions.
Yeah, and the concept is absolutely right again. It's a financial infrastructure which allows the whole market infrastructure, front end settlement, offering transactions, as well as all the post trading activities in one license. And I think this also, let's say, from a technical license point of view, also radical, apart from being retails being able to access the trading venue.
Anything else that you would like to share with us, with the audience, or Luka, you're going back to the bike most probably?
No. Actually, do my rest of the day work at 6 o'clock. We will actually close the computer because this every day watching into your screen for 6-8 hours. It's over digitalization. So 6 o'clock, I make a break.
Great, thank you. It was a pleasure as usual, and that's it with our webcast. If you have any questions or input, just let us know. You can contact us on mme.ch or directly by if you have our numbers. And so see you next time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.